In the mid-5th century, as the Western Roman Empire weakened under the weight of internal decay and external pressures, a new and terrifying force swept across the heart of Europe. The Huns, a nomadic confederation from the steppes of Central Asia, had consolidated their power under a singular ruthless leader, Attila. By the early 400s and 50s, Attila had already inflicted devastation across the Balkans and had forced the Eastern Roman Empire into paying him massive tributes. Now his attention turned westward. In 451 AD, Attila launched a massive invasion into Gaul, modern-day France, commanding a coalition of Huns, Ostrogoths, Gepids, and other subject peoples. His reputation alone caused widespread panic. Cities fell or surrendered without resistance. The city of Metz was destroyed. Paris feared it would be next. The Western Roman Empire, under the leadership of the general Flavius Aetius, had little choice but to rally what remained of its fragmented forces. Aetius, aware that the Roman military alone could not stop Attila, turned to an old enemy: the Visigoths. The Visigoths, a Germanic people who had once sacked Rome in 410 AD under Alaric, had since settled in southwestern Gaul. Their king in 451 was Theodoric I, son of the semi-legendary Alaric I. Despite their history of conflict with Rome, the Visigoths had come to realize that the survival of their own kingdom depended on stopping Attila. He and his Visigothic warriors joined forces with Aetius, creating a rare alliance between Romans and Goths, along with other regional forces including the Alans. This united front met Attila in one of the most significant confrontations of the late ancient world, the Battle of the Catalaunian Plains. But who was Theodoric I before this decisive moment? Theodoric's exact birth date remains uncertain, but it is generally placed in the final decade of the 4th century, likely between 390 and 395 AD. He was born into a time of immense change. The Roman Empire was fracturing under internal strife and external pressures, while the Gothic tribes displaced by the advance of the Huns were adapting from a nomadic existence to more permanent settlements within Roman borders. As the son of Alaric I, Theodoric would have grown up within the ruling elite of the Visigothic people. Alaric's legacy as the conqueror of Rome in 410 AD cast a long shadow. Though Theodoric was still a young man at the time of Rome's sack, he would have seen firsthand the political and military complexities of interacting with the Roman world. Following Alaric's death shortly after the sack of Rome, leadership of the Visigoths passed to Ataulf, who pursued a more conciliatory policy toward Rome. He even married Galla Placidia, sister of Emperor Honorius, symbolizing a temporary hope for integration. By the time Theodoric came to power in 418 or 419 AD, the Visigoths had secured a more stable position in the Roman world. Early in his reign, Theodoric navigated a landscape shaped by both opportunity and tension. Though the Visigoths had been settled as foederati, allies bound by treaty, the line between alliance and subjugation was always contested. Roman commanders and governors still treated the Goths as subordinates, and local Roman populations often resented their presence. The Visigoths, for their part, remained proud of their identity and traditions. They had their own leaders, laws, and warriors, and Theodoric was determined to protect their autonomy. After the death of Emperor Honorius in 423 AD, plunged the Western Roman Empire into yet another period of instability. With no clear successor in place, the power vacuum in Ravenna gave rise to a usurper, Joannes, a senior civil official who seized the imperial title without the approval of the Eastern Court in Constantinople. The empire, already fragile, now faced internal fragmentation. For Theodoric, this moment presented an opportunity. The Visigoths had long desired greater control over key territories in Gaul, and Roman distraction gave them room to maneuver. During this period of imperial confusion, Theodoric launched a campaign to seize Arelate, modern-day Arles, an important strategic city located at a major road junction in southern Gaul. Controlling Arelate would have given the Visigoths a critical position in both military and economic terms, strengthening their hold on the region. but Roman resistance remained resilient. The defense of the city was led by Flavius Aetius, an emerging general who would later become the most influential military figure in the Western Empire. Aetius had forged a powerful alliance with none other than the Huns, the very force that had once driven the Goths westward. With the support of Hun auxiliaries, Aetius marched to Arelate and successfully lifted the Visigothic siege. Theodoric was forced to withdraw, and the campaign ended without the prize he had hoped for. Rather than provoking a wider war, both sides chose to reach a settlement. A treaty was negotiated. As part of the agreement, Gallic noblemen were handed over to the Visigoths as hostages, a common Roman practice meant to ensure compliance and cooperation. Through the 430s and 440s, Theodoric continued to expand and secure Visigothic influence in southern Gaul and parts of Hispania. Though the Visigoths remained officially foederati, the practical authority of Roman officials in these regions was fading. Theodoric acted increasingly as an independent monarch, leading military campaigns, negotiating treaties, and overseeing a growing court that blended Gothic traditions with Roman structures. But even a far more formidable threat was emerging beyond the Danube. The Huns, a confederation of nomadic warriors from the Eurasian steppes, had been a looming presence in Eastern Europe for decades. Initially used by the Roman Empire as mercenaries and allies against other barbarian groups, the Huns had grown steadily in power, wealth, and ambition. By the 440s, they were no longer content with raids and subsidies. They had become an empire in their own right. At the center of this transformation was Attila. Alongside his brother Bleda, and later as sole ruler after Bleda's death, Attila unified the Hunnic tribes and forged a war machine that terrified both Eastern and Western Rome. His campaigns devastated the Balkans, forced the Eastern Roman Empire into humiliating tribute payments, and shattered the defenses of the Danubian frontier. It was during this time that Flavius Aetius, now firmly established as Magister Militum of the Western Empire, began to prepare for the growing danger posed by Attila's ambitions. For Theodoric, the rise of the Huns represented more than a distant threat. His own people had once fled westward under pressure from Hunnic incursions. Theodoric understood what Attila represented, a force that would not negotiate, that would not settle, and that posed a danger not just to Rome, but to all of Gaul, including the Visigoths. Attila, now undisputed ruler of the Huns, had begun to turn his gaze toward Gaul. His motives were a combination of opportunity and provocation. Land, wealth, and imperial politics all played a role. Among the triggers was the marriage proposal of Honoria, the sister of Emperor Valentinian III, who had sent Attila a plea for help and a ring, which Attila interpreted as a betrothal and a claim to half the Western Empire. In 451, Attila led an immense force across the Rhine, ravaging the cities and countryside of Gaul. In response, Aetius moved swiftly. He understood that Rome alone could not stop the advance. So he turned to the allies he had long cultivated. He reached out to Theodoric, urging them to join a united defense. Theodoric, seeing the existential threat that Attila posed not only to Rome but to the stability of Gaul itself, answered the call. In June of 451 AD, the allied forces of Rome and its federate tribes confronted Attila's army near the town of Chalons, in what became known as the Battle of the Catalaunian Plains. It was one of the last major military efforts of the Western Roman Empire, and one of the few times so many barbarian and Roman forces fought side by side. Theodoric led his Visigothic warriors into battle alongside Aetius and played a crucial role in resisting the Hunnic advance. During the fierce fighting, Theodoric was killed, reportedly trampled by his own men's horses while pressing the attack. After his death, his son Thorismund took command and continued the fight with determination. Under his leadership, the Visigoths held their position and helped turn the tide against Attila. Theodoric's death was a significant loss, but the allied forces succeeded in stopping Attila's campaign and forcing him to retreat. This battle was the only major defeat Attila ever suffered in his lifetime. 2 years later, in 453 AD, he died suddenly, reportedly from a severe nosebleed on his wedding night. His empire soon fragmented, never to regain the fearsome power it once held.